The plight of migrants is close to Pope Francis's heart, and now a number of prominent Catholic leaders have joined a Grassroots campaign releasing a plan to protect migrants during the COVID-19 pandemic. The five-step plan calls for the rapid release of migrants in detention centers, new measures to stop the spread of the virus in those centers, access to testing and emergency care, a guaranteed right to asylum, and investments for public health systems, food, and income support for vulnerable families. Joining us now to talk more about this plan is national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White. And Chris, how did this effort come about?
Well, Christine, the Hope Border Institute down in El Paso, Texas, and Faith in Action have been on the front lines sort of advocating on behalf of migrants for many years now. And I think increasingly what we've seen and heard over the past few weeks as this pandemic has raged on, consistently they've said that migrants are on the front lines of the most vulnerable populations. And so I think this is sort of a rallying cry as they see the situation getting worse for everyone, including migrants, that something must be done now. And their desire was to come up with a succinct list of demands that they could take to local and national leaders to, hopefully get something done.
Now, these 5 points aren't necessarily anything new in terms of what church leaders are calling for. So what's the motivation to bring them all together now?
Well, you're right. The U.S. bishops and these organizations have sort of identified these principles for, decades even in terms of the church's response toward migrants. The impetus now, of course, is that, just last week we saw a situation where the U.S. deported a number of migrants back to Guatemala. When they arrived, many of them tested positive for the virus. And so there's this, I think, general concern that if we don't do something now, trends like this will continue, and both the migrant population themselves will be at risk and others. And so this really does, in their view, benefit everyone.
All right. So what's the likely effect of this effort?
Well, when I spoke with Dylan Corbett, who runs the Hope Border Institute, he painted a sort of bleak picture of the situation on the ground there, saying that many migrants are wary to approach public health officials to get the help that they need. But at the same time, there is sort of a sense of optimism that you've seen so many people coming together, some 50 Catholic organizations, about a dozen cardinals and bishops, a number of religious men and women sort of saying, hey, this is the time to shine a spotlight on this population and action is needed right away.
All right, Christopher White, national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Christine.
If you're watching Currents News on YouTube, be sure to hit the subscribe button and then click on the bell to get instant updates about all of our newest content, because we are putting your faith in the news.